understanding that, the way we live isn't the way everyone lives, right? And you need to see the world and understand the world and understand other people. And that's always kind of been in my brain, when I travel with IGLTA all over the world.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cesar. I am an SVP with IGLTA, and today I have the pleasure of having a very special guest with the Future of Hospitality podcast, who is a dear friend and, a super important person to our industry. That's John Tanzella, President and CEO of IGLTA. John, welcome and thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Nice to see you as always. And I'm honored to participate on your podcast. So this is great. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, I was very happy when you said yes. And I think there's a lot that we can talk about. I thought about covering a little bit of your bio on the opening because, we know each other for a long time. You have an amazing journey. When we first met in Atlanta, 24 years ago or so. and yeah. And you've, done amazing things. And I think it would be really amazing if you can just spend a few minutes talking a little bit about, before you came into this role and doing the important IGLTA work that we're going to talk a little bit, what really kind of is a moment or an experience early in your life that really drew to the travel industry and kind of helped to shape, where you are today?
Yeah, for me, that's an easy one because I grew up with parents who were in the airline industry and many aunts and uncles that worked in the airline industry. And I don't know how or why that came about, but I think my parents and relatives, had immigrated from Italy, and they just sort of stayed in packs. Like one went into the airline industry and they all went into it. So I grew up taking flights and excursions, as a kid, and back then you'd have to wear a suit and tie, to fly as an airline employee. So I think I had it in me since, I was probably not even a year old traveling. So I think it's just always been in my blood. And that's what I always wanted to do was work in the travel industry.
So you being pretty spoiled early on.
Yeah, well, it's early on when most people wouldn't have that luxury to do that. But as airline employees, kids of airline employees, we were able to travel for free to different places. And
yeah,
we went to Florida a lot. We were in Boston and then Atlanta, but my parents particularly liked Bermuda, Florida, and Montreal. Those were probably three places we went to the most as kids. Were not bad.
No, very nice. Very nice. And then why don't you tell a little bit about your career progression and journey that led to you being where you are today, and, and talk a little bit about, I guess, the work and where you're focused. That's so important for everyone, right, in our industry.
Yeah, and I went to the University of Georgia, go Dogs, but I didn't study anything to do with tourism or hospitality, but I knew that's what I was really wanted to do. And then eventually after graduating, I did get on in a role with Delta Airlines and worked there for 15 years and traveled the world. And after 9/11, they were giving some really incredible packages to incentivize employees to leave because they were emerging financially. So I did leave, and I went to Italy for a few years because I had Italian citizenship, and then eventually came back and through a friend started working at Destination DC, the tourism office for Washington, DC, in corporate meetings and LGBTQ, since I was the gay in the office. So I went after gay events, gay conferences, things like that. And eventually then I got recruited to work at IGLTA. And I've been here 20 years and moved from DC to Fort Lauderdale and now in Palm Springs. And it's been an amazing journey. I really love the people I work with. I love the work we're doing around the world, and I love the community of our business members that we work with. Everybody's very passionate about uplifting, whether it's the next generation, whether it's the LGBTQ travel professional, either one. People are really passionate about it, and people want to get involved and support it. And we've got some really interesting programs we're doing in different places, and it's challenging as well, but it's fun too, doing things like that.
Yeah.
About paying forward. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you and the team do it, right? Just before we start actually taping here, we're talking about your team. You have really an amazing team across the globe that super passionate, of course, caring people. And I had the pleasure of being in one of your meetings in Miami, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And as a guest, it was really interesting to me to learn even more about how you approach, right, supporting people traveling, feeling safe, feeling cared for, feeling understood, which, to your point, I think regardless of your background or what you do, always feels good as human beings. But I was really blown away by how you go about it. And I think I don't know, I mean, I think you can tell us, because you're kind of apolitical, right? You need to figure out how to work with different countries that some can be very accommodating, some is very strict about, gay, lesbians, and in general, and kind of figure out like how to navigate, how to educate. So how does that work? Because that's pretty complex.
It is. Thank you for recognizing that. And yeah, I work with the most amazing people. And one of the most important things I look at when I'm hiring somebody, for no matter what the role is what is their attitude and their demeanor, because our members love the team at IGLTA, and it's because we work with such a positive, warm, giving group of professionals that really care. We are very decentralized. There's only 25 of us, but we're in 14 countries, so we're very spread out. But we work in 80 countries, so it's good that we're spread out. And to your point, a lot of places aren't so friendly and welcoming, and we work in a lot of places that aren't supportive of LGBTQ tourism or the community. So a lot of the work we do at the IGLTA Foundation is trying to help uplift people in places in our community where it is challenging. But you look right here in the United States, and it's getting really tough for the T and LGBTQ. So we have a lot of focus here now as well. So it seems to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back type everywhere in the world, because you just never know, what's going to happen politically. And we stay out of the political lane for the most part. We're not a political organization. We're about business. But it is also something you have to navigate and try to, meet governments midway through and try to understand each other and how you can support each other without ruffling feathers, and pushing, an agenda, as they like to say, or a culture onto them, because we understand the differences in cultures, right? Take the Middle East, LGBTQ tourism is not readily seen there outside of Israel and maybe Jordan, but there are LGBTQ people, but in a lot of those countries they don't even want hetero couples holding hands in the streets. So you just have to be aware of the laws but also the culture, and that's a big thing that we work on, because we want people to feel welcome, but first is safety. So you want to be safe when you travel, and you got to understand the laws and the cultures before you travel.
Yeah, that is so true. I think I'm sorry.
Even in the United States now, right? I mean, a lot of people don't want to come to the United States because they do fear for safety and concerns, other concerns.
Yeah. And just recently this May, went back home, visit some friends, in Brazil, and my family. And then we had some friends here from Atlanta that came and visited with us. So we went and met them in Rio, and we drove down, and they were saying it's like, wow, I don't know if I would be able to do what we did without a Brazilian person with me, right? Just because there not many people speak English, and to your point, safety, you gotta be, street smart there, make sure you don't get into any trouble. So yeah, I can imagine adding an additional layer of complexity depending where you go, and so good that you and the team focus on that.
Yeah, and we have great partners we work with. The United Nations tourism has been a great help to us and work with us all over the world. The European Travel Commission, Pacific Asia Travel Commission. There's a lot of organizations we work with, beyond our corporate members in the tourism space that help us navigate and help us have a platform to do educational programs at the foundation.
Yeah, very good. The As you're talking, I was thinking a little bit on I think what you alluded to, changes in policies, and certainly different places, that strategy is a very important part of it, but just can't be all of it, right? I think you also need the heart to balance and combine that. So if you're thinking about your own leadership philosophy, and how would you describe it, and how has it evolved as you progress in your career? And I think especially over these last 20 years in your chair, that you've seen a lot.
I think, having worked in the airline industry with a very diverse employee group and traveling to many different countries, I was already in the mindset of understanding, there are different cultures and different ways of doing things and different ways of doing business and whatnot. So I think international travel really helps educate people, whether you're American or from wherever. And then with IGLTA, it's the same concept. It's really getting out there and talking to governments, talking to tourism associations, talking to individual travel professionals, and other LGBTQ nonprofits that we work with all over the world, and understanding the situation they're dealing with, and then trying to see what can we do to either collaborate or to help them. Because we have a lot of resources at our fingertips that we help other nonprofits in places where it's really challenging, and that's something we're really good at and we really enjoy doing. And that was why we started the foundation at IGLTA in 2012, was really to help raise money to be able to do things to help others. Because as an association, we're really tasked with marketing our members, which is extremely important. Members being the tourism professionals, but the foundation enables us to actually do some pay forward things and help lift others. And that's been a real passion of mine. And I love that part of the job, because you are meeting people from all corners of the world that have very different situations than, I have. So that's been probably the favorite thing about my time at IGLTA is the foundational work that we're doing. We have a conference now every year in India. I would never have thought of that 20 years ago. And we do a collaborative one in Brazil and in South Africa every year. We have a conference now that we're doing every year in Mexico City. And then we have our annual global one, which is here in Palm Springs in October. And then next year it's in Seville. It rotates. We were in Florianopolis one year for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So the global one is really about bringing people from all over. And then the regional ones are more specific to their country. But yeah, it's been really exciting, and the more we expand, the more cool things we're doing, and like I said, it's two steps forward, one step back. Italy could be a good case study. When I started 20 years ago, they wouldn't even talk to us.
Huh.
And I would speak Italian, so they'd speak with me, but they were kind of like the Italian. I'm talking about the Italian tourism office, but they're like, no, we don't really do anything, in that community. What you do is fine, but we're not really going to be involved in that. And then, eventually after meetings, they finally start seeing that, this is a viable market.
Yeah.
And the attitudes in Italy were changing, right? They're becoming a little more progressive, and they came on as a global partner. We hosted a convention in Milan a few years ago, but then boom, they have a change in leadership from the government, who is to the far right, and she's not the friendliest for the LGBTQ community in Italy. So, now it's back to trying to help lift them again, even though they've made such great strides. But seeing the same thing happen here in the United States and other places. So it's a game of, what do they call it? Whack-a-ball.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing around the world.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would imagine it probably can feel frustrating and rewarding at the same time, right? Because
Exactly.
to your point, you have a step forward to back, and
Yep.
when you have the wins, feels really good, but then it's like, oh, not again, right?
Right.
And it's like keep that. And thinking about the foundation work, which is, to your point, really about paying forward and really engagement that enhances kind of the work that you do for your members. I don't know, is there any really a story or something that really stuck with your mind that kind of give you goosebumps, or that you can say, wow, that was something that really made us, feel our hearts, with whatever happened? Is there anything like this that comes to mind?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good question. It's probably several things that have been building, like like our annual symposium in India. That was just a dream years ago. Like, could we even do something in India? Not having any team there, and it's so different culturally. Not knowing what the LGBTQ community is like.
Right.
But that has just grown and blossomed, and it's a great conference. We're tying in a think tank with it next February when we do it. But also, not just conferences, but what we do on more the individual level of like the fellowship program that we have. And a lot of our members like to get behind that. And that's really getting or lifting, the next generation of LGBTQ tourism professionals and helping them with everything from mentorship to attending conferences that we do, whether it's South Africa or Delhi or the main one that we do. This year we have 5 female queer women coming as the recipients of the fellowship to Palm Springs. So very intentional there with focusing on the women. And so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing is the things that we're doing that individually impact people in our community that are trying to thrive, right? And they have a lot of headwinds, but we're like one huge family in 80 countries, and we all try to help each other. And I think our member businesses, particularly in like Canada and US and Western Europe, have really galvanized behind us and really are supportive of the work we're doing and engage and volunteer and help us. So it's been a collective effort, not just our team and our board, but our members that have really driven the foundation work.
Oh, that is nice. And as you're talking, I think, people, either if they're, a minority group or not, we all have things going on in our life where either we have a hurdle, a challenge. And so you have that every day, right, in your work that you've been, working towards and making progress. What is something or a few things that you could share for anyone that may be listening to this and say, wow, I really struggle personally with this, or I would like to achieve this in my life or profession. and I'm having resistance or having, walls in between what I want to achieve. What could you share from your experience that you think could relate or be of help to that?
Yeah, and we get that. We have a lot of people in that situation in different corners of the world, from Nepal to wherever. Um, if you are listening and you're in that situation, feel free to reach out to us for guidance, for mentorship, for connections. How can we help you? Your business thrive. I mean, that's what we are. We're a business association. We have lots of fellowship programs out there. We just teamed up with the IGLTA Foundation out of Europe to focus on about 30 young LGBTQ travel professionals specifically. So there's lots of opportunities that we could assist them with. We have such a wealth of knowledge base at the organization, and I don't mean just the staff, our members that we can help. So if they're in Nepal, we have members in Nepal that can maybe take them under their wing and help them, or no matter where they are. We've got contacts in almost every country, or at least in the region.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just one big family trying to help each other. And in some places it's easier than others, but we hope that those in easier locations pay forward as well and get involved and help us help others, which we do see, in very mature markets like Canada or Amsterdam, London, New York City, where being an LGBTQ travel professional or just a person is really not anything, earth shattering, but they understand that in other places that's not the case, and they'll help. Brazil, where you're from, for example, it's no shock to see two guys, holding hands on the beach, in Rio. But, there are places in Brazil, like every country, where it's not so progressive.
Yeah.
And there are LGBTQ people everywhere. So we try to help them as well, in the tourism space, and all over the world.
And, it's interesting in your, within the work you do you see any trends on the younger generation getting into our industry, either more or less? I don't know. Do you have any observations from that end? Either trends or thoughts or recommendations you may have for anyone that's young that may be considering, what path can I take in my life? And, hey, hospitality could be a very vast industry that could be a good fit.
Yeah, and I go to a lot of conferences like you do as well, and that always seems to be one of the biggest concerns and opportunities is the next generation of coming into tourism and hospitality, that they're not coming here, they're not seeing it as a viable industry, or they just don't even know about it. And a lot of convention visitor bureaus are saying that and trying to actively recruit younger professionals. I don't know that I see that as much in our community, because I think there seems to be some sort of natural connection with our community and tourism and hospitality, but it is out there as well, and it is something that we probably need to do a better job of recruiting younger professionals out of college to say, hey, this is a fun industry, it's a viable industry. There's a lot of room for growth and movement, within different segments in tourism and hospitality. It's not like, the younger days of when I was getting out of school and you went with one company and you stayed there, for 50 years. Kids don't do that anymore. So, but I think the industry is awesome, and it's so global, and there's so many opportunities to move to different countries if you want to. You're a great example of having great experiences as well. So we've been very intentional in trying to recruit younger professionals in the tourism industry through our fellowship programs.
Yeah, it's interesting as you talk about it, and I look at my journey. How I started was a little bit weird because I guess not weird, but like I was really a bad student. So it's like I didn't have many options to
Right.
choose college. And at that time in Brazil, like anyone with a heartbeat could get into college of tourism and hotels. So that's how I ended up doing it. And I got a job as assistant of a waiter assistant in one of the hotels that just had opened in Sao Paulo. And as to your point, then I loved it. I fell in love with the energy,
Yep.
the people, because and I think you can relate to that. I mean, you meet so many different people from different cultures,
Yep.
different backgrounds, and so you're always learning. Even though if your job, let's say, if your job is the same thing over and over, just the different people you're exposed to, you're always learning. And then, as you mentioned about us attending conferences, then you create, friendships for life.
You do.
People
Yep.
that you're competing with, or people moving hotels, and you get to go to the same conferences over and over. And it's a beautiful thing. It becomes a really tight community that I feel is very supportive, and to your point, allows for really good growth, and opportunities, regardless, right? Regardless of your schooling per se or technical knowledge. I think is one of the industries that, if your heart's there, if your drive is there, you can get some good shot.
Yeah. I care less about what degree a potential employee has versus if they have a great attitude and they want to learn, they want to network, and they want to grow. That to me is more promising. But to your point, you had mentioned about coming to our summit we did in Miami 2 years ago. And, we do bring together a lot of competitors in the industry, but we're not talking about strategic plans or goals. We're talking mutually, how do we lift the industry from our lens of LGBTQ? So there are ways, even with competitors, that we do all work together, or bring everyone together. And even though it's a huge industry and it's global, it's still a small world, right? People move around. You may be working with someone that was a competitor of yours 5 years ago. So it is a small world. And it's good to have, to play nicely, because you never know. Yeah.
Yeah, your reputation will be
Yeah.
will be stuck with you. There's no hiding.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Out of curiosity, if you didn't stay, let's say if you didn't follow your family path and started with Delta back in the day, what other paths you may have taken in your profession?
Um, I'm fascinated with architecture, so probably I would have leaned that way. And living in Palm Springs now is a great place for architecture if you like mid-century architecture, because this is mid-century headquarters. That probably would have been the avenue I would have taken.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late. It's
Yeah.
never too late.
Yeah, might be a little late, but maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful place for that. And LA, it's 2.5 hours away. That there's so many iconic structures there as well, like Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is a very, I love the architecture there, and I got to know a little bit more of it watching HGTV, the renovations and all that, and it's so beautiful. The homes there, the beautiful yards with the
Yeah.
pools that are, almost necessary there for survival.
I have to have them here. Gets a little warm here in the summer.
Yeah, yeah. That is great. So, as we come towards the end, I have kind of two questions that I'd like to close with before I turn for you for anything that perhaps we didn't cover you'd like to share. But, now if you look, if there is in your life as until today, who or what has been the greatest or one of the greatest inspirations in your life, either personally or professionally, that has shaped how you live today?
I would say, personally and professionally, my parents. I know that's a bit of a cop out, but they're both deceased. But so I can say it. They were very inspiring to me growing up because they were very one, they were good people, and two, working in the travel industry, both of them before they met and after, it inspired me to have the love of learning about different cultures. So that was something my parents were really passionate about as well, was understanding that, the way we live isn't the way everyone lives, right? And you need to see the world and understand the world and understand other people. And that's always kind of been in my brain, when I travel with IGLTA all over the world, is that just that sponge mentality of just absorbing knowledge from them and culture from them. So, I think, both personally and professionally, I would lean on my parents for a really good upbringing on quality. They weren't the wealthiest growing up, but a lot of us weren't. But they instilled some really good values and ideas in my head.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah, that's nice. That's beautiful. It's nice that you can have those wonderful people in your life, right? Hopefully, people can relate to you and have had a wonderful parents, and then if not, have someone in their lives that they can relate to and have these wonderful experiences, because that's what makes life so special. So
yeah, and not everyone can say that about their parents, I'm sure. Other struggles, family struggles. So, but it is important that you find, if it's not your parents, if someone in your world that can mentor you and help.
Yeah, wonderful. And then, we touched a little bit on this, but if you had to, I don't know, break down, some of your biggest reflections from your journey so far, and as we're talking about the newest generation that are coming up in hospitality and travel, what would be some, I don't know, a big reflection or some reflections that you could share with them to take with them as they continue on their professional journey?
I usually tell young professionals to be open-minded to exploring different things when it comes to your job, your career, and don't be in a funnel or a tunnel, I guess. Think about other options as well, because there's the world out there, even just in the tourism hospitality space. Get out there and try different jobs. Say you work in a hotel, do every job in that hotel before you move on to the next hotel. Get the experience, get it on your resume, and network. Attend tourism, hospitality industry association events in your city. Get involved with some local nonprofits. In our world, LGBTQ, but nonprofits in general, because it helps bolster your resume of contacts for your career and moving on, and you hear things that might be open. It's really just keeping an open mind to different opportunities for work and career when you're young. And I think the younger generation does a much better job of that than our generation did. But that is something you have to be flexible and also understand that your elders, have already been there, and they may give you advice, and, instead of rolling your eyes, just take it, and, think about it and say, well, maybe that makes sense, but, that's the biggest thing that I typically tell young professionals is just be open to opportunities, and and do things that may not be, maybe it's a job that you don't really want, but I think for the short term, it can really help you in the bigger picture for that experience.
Yeah. That is great. Great advice, and remind our daughter Gabby of listening to the to the elders today when she gets back from high school.
Yeah. Yeah, not always easy, but and I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
but then I remember, right? It's like I wasn't ever listening to my parents too, but
right, right.
it's funny how life is. And then I don't know, John. Listen, first, thank you for joining me. You're someone that uh, you know I deeply respect, and our industry
Yeah,
deeply respects.
uh,
Not only for,
mutual.
of course, the work that you do, which is very important, but really how you lead. I think all your roles and since I've known you, you're just someone that is constant good, and you always done good. You always care about people. Of course, you're very passionate about the industry, so thank you for all that you do to make our industry better, to help people across the globe. I think that's one of the, I don't know, one probably the best things I think you can have is when you wake up and say, wow, I know that what we do is hard, but I'm touching lives everywhere around the globe, right? And
Trying.
even if I'm
Yeah,
making
right.
their travel this big, safer, or more comfortable, then it's like, I'm having a real impact. So thank you. But yeah, anything else that, I don't know, perhaps I missed
Well,
on asking you, or something that you'd like to share more with the listeners on IGLTA, the foundation, or
sure.
about you?
Also, I just want to say thank you. I think I could easily turn that table on you as one of the most compassionate, nice leaders I know in the industry as well. So thank you for everything you do and for our friendship for, I would say, over 30 years.
Yeah.
I've been here a long time. The only thing I would probably say is if you're listening and you're in the tourism hospitality space and you're interested in diversity markets, particularly LGBTQ, come to our convention. You don't have to be a pro at LGBTQ tourism. A lot of what we do is helping businesses, travel professionals with, gay travel 101, as we call it. So please consider coming to Palm Springs in October. It's not a bad place to be. So it'll be a great conference. But we are teaming up with some other diversity travel organizations as well to make it beyond just LGBTQ. And it should be a great conference and great networking events in the evening and a lot of fun.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely a must attend. And thank you. Thanks for the share. Thanks for being here. And
Absolutely.
yeah, hope to see you again soon.
Likewise. Muito obrigado.
De nada. Thank you.